We're continuing to do comments on Zen Flesh, Zen Bones, the booklet by Paul Reps and Yogen Senzaki. We're on case story number 38, and it's entitled Gisho's Work. And it's actually not much of a story. There was a young nun named Gisho who was ordained at age 10. So she probably was an orphan, because many orphans were sent to the monastery to be raised. So to be ordained at age 10 is really unusual. But she had an interest in Dharma, and she practiced with a number of Zen teachers. And then she began practicing with a Zen teacher named Inzan. And she stayed with him for 13 years. Now, the interesting thing about this is she had a deep awakening experience after 13 years, and then Inzan wrote a poem. And the poem goes, "This nun studied 13 years under my guidance. In the evening, she considered the deepest koans. In the mornings, she was wrapped in other koans. The Chinese nun Tetsuma surpassed all before her, and since Mujaku, none has been so genuine as this Gisho. Yet there are many more gates for her to pass through. She should still receive more blows from my iron fist." So here is a young woman who is very ardent in her practice, very interested in realization, very interested in waking up. She went to this guy, Inzan, and he was, from what we gather, extremely hard on her. In what way that was, we don't know for sure. But he probably was quite critical. He may have, during that era, there was a lot of more physical abuse or physical interactions. And he may have been hitting her with a stick, or who knows. But the issue here is, and why this is such an interesting story, is that when we are really interested in knowing the truth, when we're interested in knowing what we do not know, in revealing that which has not yet been revealed, then we have to get to the edge of what we know and take a step beyond it. Now, when we're looking for what we already know, then that's not very inspiring. When we're actually willing to see what we don't know and to let go of what we do know, in that place, criticism, failure, judgment, all those things that we normally reject become entrance gates into this larger realm. So some of the great masters have made what they regarded as very large, big spiritual progress in times of extreme adversity. So when we meet something we don't yet know how to handle, when we meet someone we don't yet know how to love, when we meet something we don't yet know how to meet skillfully, right there is a growth edge. So criticism might be one of those growth edges. Cold might be a growth edge. People not liking us might be a growth edge. People being alone might be a growth edge. There's lots of growth edges if we have a foundation of practice. If we don't have that foundation of practice, then it just becomes another aversive reality, another aversive situation. The end of this particular story, after Gisho was enlightened, she went to the province of Banshu, started her own Zen temple, and taught 200 other nuns until she passed away 1 year in the month of August. The awakening really means touching the inclusive mind, touching the mind that is not separate from other people. And that means that we are witness to or partake in or are aware of their difficulties and their aspirations, their wholeness, and their particular strengths and challenges. So this woman, with apparently a deep awakening, saw the need to help other women with their awakening, to help other women find that in us which is beyond gender, which is beyond bondage, which is beyond limitation. And so she taught right up to her death. Teaching in that sense does not mean that she prepared long lectures and stood up with a chalkboard or whatever the equivalent was and gave people different teachings. It really is the embodiment of Dharma. So this woman lived Dharma. She lived Dharma with apparently dozens or even hundreds of other women. And she lived Dharma and taught through living Dharma until she expired. So may we all recognize that we teach through our lives. And may that teaching be have a lot of integrity to it.